Certainly in need of it. Lacked screensaver support. You... Oh yeah, Linux Mint, I take it. They're sort of old hat now, aren't they? Screensavers in a way, I think. I don't know. Kind of, I just set my machines to go into power save. Oh, okay, yeah, well, was fine, sort of okay this morning, but it's coming again. Yeah. More Amiga stuff. I'm good, thanks. Yeah. How do we play? I'm sort of still trying to get to the bottom of this cantankerous Accelerator card. I think I've found the issues actually. Not 100% sure. It did crash on me once this morning, but that was in directory Opus, and I'm wondering if it was just directory Opus being directory Opus. I just don't know. But it only locked up once, and I need to really just sort of start using it and just, you know, seeing what's going on with it, see how reliable it is. If it was directory Opus, I'm happy with a piece of software crashing from time to time on an old computer. If it's caused by hardware, yep, that's potentially an issue. So might not be out of the woods with this accelerator yet, but I really need to put it through its paces and just start using it for a bit, seeing. But I have found some interesting things with it, so yeah. This is a nice screensaver for the Amiga. It's called Blanca, and you've seen it. It does the squiggly lines. Yeah, but I'm sort of trying to get to the bottom of what's causing it, just through a process of elimination, a little bit of sort of gut feeling, things like that. I've got other accelerators. I could just whack my other 030 accelerator in and walk away. But curiosity is sort of getting the better of me in a way. You know, kind of. I didn't spend a whole lot of money on a fancy accelerator just to let it be, you know, potentially faulty. But we'll go through, and I've got a few other things I want to try as well. I can always get back to where I am. See, the machine is booting like reliably now. You saw in the past it was, you'd get the insert disk screen, so that's basically saying it can't find the hard drive, even though the hard drive is spun up and da da da. Oh, this sounds cozy. Oof, murder mittens. So I thought I'd just go through and show you what I've found, and there's a couple of things going through my mind about this situation as far as this card goes. If we have a look, at sysinfo, taskmasters, you know, if we have a look at the speed, everything's happy as far as this is concerned. It's detecting the accelerator there, 25 megahertz 030. It's running quite nicely. It's reasonably quick. You know, that's faster than an Amiga 3000 with an 030 at 25 megahertz. So you know, can't complain. One thing to take note of here is the memory. So we've got, oh yeah, yeah. We've got 8 megs of fast RAM. So just bear that in mind, 8 megs of fast RAM. We've got a mega chip RAM, that's just what comes on the Amiga 2000 motherboard, sort of stock. But the 8 megs of fast RAM is got originally on the Accelerator. I'll get you a top-down view so that sort of you know what I'm talking about then. You've seen it before, that's the Accelerator there. And we've got a hard drive card as well that has some RAM on it. Right, and I'll whip this out, we can have a close look. Did some interesting experiments last night with this. Need an extension for this. An extension for this power cable will be handy because these Molex connectors are not 100%. So you've got Accelerator this side, and Accelerator that side, and you can see you've got a sandwich situation with a RAM card on the other. and the astute regular viewers like yourself will notice that there's 4 Sims sockets not populated. And so originally I had these 4 Sims. These are special Sims, right? You cannot use just standard old Sims. You just can't do it. It's I'm not sure how I'd have to look up the documentation again. There's not much documentation on this combo. Anyway, suffice it to say it's very special RAM. You can't just use anything. And so this board had 8 megs, right? So we've got 4 1s and 4 1s, and it was fully populated. And long story short, and I'll give you the long story as well, because yeah, 30, I think so. Are they? 30 pin. 30 pin Sims. And to start with, because there's a bit of information to digest here to really sort of understand what's going on. Long story short is, I think there were 2 issues. And what I think is that because I've got 4 here now, or I had 8 here and I have 4 over here on the hard card, I'm starting to wonder whether this 4 here, because I think there's faulty RAM in here, and I'm wondering if somehow this 4 here was potentially taking the same address space as those 4 there. Number 1, is it maybe an address space overlap? Or the fact that I think this is possibly faulty could have been causing the memory overlap issues. Now you can't just, you can't just run out and grab some of this stuff. It's really, really hard to find. There are people selling 1 meg sticks of this for like 200 and something bucks US on eBay. It's not common. No, it's done, no. That, whether they get that much for it or not, I don't know. So it could be just someone fishing. No, the addressing is done by, it's done on the motherboard as such. It's done, there'll be, you know, like PAL chips or something to, I don't know exactly the Amiga architecture fully, but it's definitely done via chips on the board. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. I thought you, sorry, I didn't read your comment properly. I thought you said, am I going to scalp them? I could try and get 200 and something US dollars each for them. Anyway, so last night I've taken some notes, because if I didn't take notes it'd be so what I thought I'd do is I thought that I would run a memory tester, and so I ran a memory tester, walked away, let it run, came back, the machine had locked. It's with the fully populated RAM. And yeah, and so I thought, well, you know, that could be either faulty RAM or because at that time I still don't know if it's the accelerator card or the RAM or what, you know. And so I thought maybe it's the card just locked up, or it came across faulty RAM and locked up. I don't, you know. It's an unknown. Anyway, I thought what I'd do is I thought this is the originally populated. These are two different types of RAM. This RAM here is a let's just say that it's that's like a grey type writing on it, and this RAM's got like a gold. This is Mitsubishi, the gold. And so what I thought is I numbered all the SIMs as they were populated in these slots here. And so what I did is I put this lot of RAM down here and put this lot up here. And the machine what did it do? No signal. So start the machine, you get nothing. Absolutely zip. Oh, there's also a jumper here, just to throw that into the mix. There's a jumper. It's not very well documented. JP5. From the looks of it, it's potentially to tell, I think if you open that jumper, it says that the card's got 8 megs of RAM. So I swapped those. It made no difference. Well, no, it made it worse. Wouldn't boot, wouldn't post. And so then I tried all sorts of combinations because I thought maybe it's just one piece of this RAM that's a problem. So I tried all sorts of different combinations of moving these sticks around to a point. And as long as I had this grey, let's call that the grey RAM and this gold RAM, as long as I had the grey RAM down this in these sockets here, the machine would get to the point, it would post and do all that, and I could start up the advanced Amiga analyzer software and it would do a RAM check. But then it would consistently fail you'd start getting errors at 6,000 hex right through to 9F, I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but consistently getting RAM errors. And so I thought, well, I'll remove this here and then do the check again. And that's no, because that's 16-bit, isn't it? No, this is so it's 9F with 4 Fs after it. Another 2, so you get another 8 bits on top. 9FFFFF. Anyway, without sort of, getting right into the memory map of these machines, which I don't really want to delve too far into that technical side of it just yet. I was really just doing the troubleshooting side of it, with potentially thinking I've got faulty RAM. I tried all sorts of different combinations. I removed this RAM card from the accelerator, so undid the sandwich, which is pretty easy to do. Put the accelerator back in, and it wasn't accelerating. So I also tried, there was also mention of removing the 68,000 CPU. Made no difference. There's mention also that there are certain German revisions of these motherboards that can cause an issue and you need to set a jumper on the accelerator. It didn't make any difference. There's also mention of it not being happy with Kickstart 3.1 ROM, which I've got in here, and I don't think it's any of those. So there are a lot of variables with this. And so what I did is I populated just the 4 meg here with the grey RAM, and I set J5 on the RAM card here, and I booted. You can boot directly off the Amiga Analyzer, and this is another thing, this advanced Amiga Analyzer. You can boot from this disk, right? And I ran the memory test and it would still come up with those failures at the same locations. And so I thought, well, maybe this RAM's faulty. And then so I put the gold RAM in down here. If I put the gold RAM in down here, the machine won't even post. So that says to me that the gold RAM is potentially faulty enough for it to not even get anywhere to start with. I mean, there could be one piece of faulty RAM here. I'm not 100% sure, but oh, well, actually I am sure, because you can also run this from within Workbench. And if you run that advanced Amiga Analyzer from within Workbench with this 4 meg populated here and J5 set, there's no RAM errors, which is weird. I wonder if, because I'm booting off this and I'm getting RAM errors, that maybe because Workbench isn't loaded, it's not doing any memory management. And so if I boot off Workbench, memory management kicks in, and then I can run the Amiga Analyzer and it's happy as Larry, it tests fine. But what I didn't really take much notice of before I took this RAM out here, so when I went down to 4, so yeah, when I had it populated at 8 megs, I didn't really take much notice as to how much RAM the system was saying, you know, in sysinfo, and I've got a funny feeling it said 8, which even with this card here in, whereas if you think about 8 here and 4 there, it should say 12, but I don't remember. I probably could go back to some of my previous streams and have a look, but that'd take quite a while to find. So that would sort of prove my theory. If it did only pick up 8 when there's actually physically 12 in the machine, that would sort of prove my theory of the overlapping RAM. No, it wants 4 megs minimum. Yeah, I did try all that. Yeah. Just looking at my notes. Yep, tried that. If I put the gold RAM down here only, it would post, but I'd get weird floppy drive errors. And I'm not sure if you remember, but really early on when I put this Accelerator card into this machine, I had those external floppy drives connected, and it was, and also I noticed it was also flaky when I was doing like disk copies and things. No, you have to put them in batches of 4. They need to be in batches of 4. Yeah, did I try that? Yeah, I'm not sure I did. We could try that now. We could try that. The RAM is a pain. Yeah, we could do that. That's if it will actually accept it. These RAMs sockets are horrible. Plastic. They're not like your traditional flip out. They're like a slide in situation. Bloody horrible. I mean, this is kind of, this will identify potential faulty RAM, but I still can't use it because if I've got even one piece of faulty RAM, I can't use it because it needs to be in batches of 4. But it's interesting to see what will happen. Let's see if it'll even post. No, it's not promising. No, it's not posting. Zip. So I'll try the other two. It kind of makes me wonder whether someone's actually tried to use this 30-pin RAM in another machine, like as in a PC, and munted the whole lot, like the whole batch. So that's Sim 5 and 6, and this is Sim 7 and 8. God, this Molex connector is so cheap and nasty. It's like pushing the pins out the back of it. I wonder if I should grab another one. The pins are sort of malformed and not really all that straight. I mean, the bloody pins are wobbling around like anything inside the connector. Probably a very cheap connector, I would say. I was just not 100% happy with this Amiga connector here. I guess it's actually going to make this job a lot more difficult. Right, I think that's got it. Okay. It's promising. No. No. So I'm sort of reluctant to really continue to try and... Yeah. I was looking for a good solid piece of wood, but this does the trick. So I'm basically going to give up on that gold RAM at the moment because I don't really want to get bogged down on and I think we can safely say there's faulty RAM in there. But what I want to do is I want to put the gold RAM back in and run sysinfo and just take note of the memory configuration because you would expect, if everything was working properly and configured correctly, that you'd have 12 megs of RAM in this thing. And so this will be putting it back to the way it was. And I do need to change that jumper. And there is a possibility that this won't boot as well. Bearing in mind I had issues with it intermittently. So J5 is coming off. So that's, as far as I know, that's telling the machine that the RAM card's got 8 megs. It's not going to work. Right, we're back to square one. Yep. How are you, Mev? Yep, man, I tried a whole lot of stuff last night. You wouldn't believe. I worked on it for hours. I think I've got it sorted. But I'm not 100%. It's a hell of a lot. Yes, that's an amber card, yeah. Flicker Fixer, otherwise known. I've got it a hell of a lot better. I've just put it back to original because I wanted to check something, but I don't know if it's going to play ball. What's it waiting for? No, I think, yeah, it's a lot later. I think it's a combination of bad RAM and a bad memory configuration. Well, I suspect maybe the bad RAM is causing an issue. Is that going to load this time? Yes. Okay, I just want to quickly check something because we've got 8 meg in this accelerator and I've got 4 meg on the hard card. And I think because of potential faulty RAM in the accelerator, it's causing the second 4 meg on this to maybe map over the top of this 4 meg, and this is where it's, I just want to look into that. Kind of wish I had taken note before, but if we have a look at the memory, yeah, 8, yeah. See, so, oh, sorry. Yeah. See that one? That's my chip RAM. 8 meg, right? Even though I've got 8 on the accelerator and 4 on the hard card. No, it's if I take the 4 meg out of the accelerator, we still see this. So that's 4 meg on the accelerator and 4 meg on the hard card. This should be 12. 8 on the accelerator, 4 on the hard card. Yep. I'm pretty sure it's bad RAM because when I put... I'm pretty sure it's bad RAM because I'll show you in a sec. So that's good, that confirms. The other thing I thought about doing is taking the RAM out of the hard card, because maybe there is a... Oh man, I've looked at... there's not much documentation for this accelerator. I have found, not the manuals, but I've found like the big book of Amiga hardware's got the jumper settings and none of them relate to... The only jumper that's relative for the memory, yeah, that's what I want to try next. But I still think there's faulty RAM. Because if I've got 2 blocks of 4, let's say 2 blocks of 4 on the accelerator, if I swap the blocks, so if you have to run them in 4s, if I swap the blocks, it fails to boot. You have to test them in batches of 4 because it needs 4 meg you can't run this card with 1 meg as far as I know. Yeah, you have to run them in batches of 4. But I've run a memory test on the good batch in Workbench and it's passed 5 passes. So I think I'm really close, but that was something that I wanted to do today, was remove this RAM here. Yeah, the difficulty with that is that I need the hard card to boot Workbench. If I boot Workbench from the floppies, it might work, but I don't have any memory management. I'd have to configure memory management on floppy, and I've never done that. I don't even know whether everything you need would fit. That would be something that I need to sit down and experiment with off air, because it would be a nightmare. The other option is I could put my IDE controller in it. Yes, that's a good point. Zip boot. I'm not sure where my bloody zip drive is. Oh yeah. I'd have to go and rummage for my zip drive, and I'm not really set up. I don't have everything on hand. But let's, first of all, let's remove the hard card and boot from a Workbench floppy and run the analyzer. Because the other interesting thing is, right, if I run the analyzer here now in Workbench, I'll get errors because I've got the bad RAM in. Well, what I think is bad RAM. Let me demonstrate. There's a reason I think I've got faulty RAM. And the main reason for that is we've got, sorry, switchy camera. This set of 4 down here, let's call that grey because it's got grey writing on it. That set there's gold, let's call that gold, it's got gold writing. That set there, if I take this gold RAM out, which is what I suspect is faulty, if I take that out and I set J5, which tells the computer that's only got 4 megs of RAM, it boots fine, run RAM tests, no problem at all, right? So I thought, okay, I'll put the gold RAM in down here, because you can't, I think it needs to be populated from down here up. I haven't actually, not sure if I've tried the good RAM, the grey RAM up in this area. I haven't, I'd have to look back through my notes. But anyway, I thought I'll put the gold RAM down here. It won't even post, won't even turn on as such, you know, get no signal. That makes me wonder about this gold RAM. Highly suspicious about that. So that's high on my probability list. It's that fact. And I'm happy to actually, I'm wondering if before I remove this, let's just leave it, because there are a few things to try. But I ran the machine last night and this morning for quite some time with the grey RAM in, what I think is good RAM. and I only had one crash, and that was in directory Opus, and I think that was just directory Opus being directory Opus. So the temptation is to remove this RAM. And this is special RAM too, right? So you can't just go willy-nilly. This RAM is like bloody hen's teeth. It's partly why I bought that Accelerator. It's because that RAM is so hard to come by. I'm wondering... Oh, we've got some jumpers here for RAM. Here we go. So zero, I'm just going to take a photo of that to start with, because I'm going to start dicking around with jumpers. Okay. So at the moment, we've got 4 meg. So J5 and J9. Correct. J5, J9. So I want J7 instead of J5 and pull this RAM and just see whether this RAM could be upsetting the Accelerator card's RAM holers bolus. I just don't know. These RAM slots are bloody horrible. Mechanically horrible. Hard. You've got to push a little pin through, a little plastic pin back through the hole and lift at the same time. It almost makes you wonder if there's like a special tool. It is a horrible setup, and it makes me nervous. There's nowhere to grip, you know, and push the pin back at the same time. They're not angled, you kind of have to pull them straight out, but you've got a pin on each side, plastic pin sticking through. The angled ones on the Accelerator I worked out a really good system for, but that system's not going to work here. Whoever designed it needs to be shot with a ball of their own shit. That's all I could say.